Welcome to your reading. So I have a very odd thing happening with my charger. That's why the angle is a little bit weird. I kind of have to like have it tilted in this bizarre, like I have to have like my AC, like I AirPods or like something underneath it, like tilt it at the right angle or my computer dies. So it's not that bad though. But yeah. Also, we're going to be sharing the screen a lot during this. I found that it's sometimes more effective when I do readings around this time of the night or the early morning to tap into kind of, I'll just like close my eyes, my crystals and whatnot, and just like meditate with the chart. So let's show it. So let's just get, oh wow, you have moon rising. I just had someone that had moon rising. Always like that. Always back to back clients with very similar things. Oh, and you have your Spica conjunct your sun exact. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, let's get rid of these. So basically, a chart with a not Scorpio, Capricorn rising with the moon rising exact degree. Unbelievable. Of course, Neptune, like every Capricorn client I have, is involved. It's usually the sun conjunct Neptune, but if I have someone with moon or sun in Capricorn, very seldom is it ever not with Neptune involved, because Neptune creates that like more spiritual kind of Capricorn, right? Probably should make a video about it because it's so like prevalent and just it's like clockwork. It's every single time. Like if I count, like I did this like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I counted like all my Scorpio clients or Capricorn clients, and it was just like 88% or some crazy number like that had a conjunction. Like there's very few that just had Capricorn with no Neptune, and there's a reason for that, because Neptune, it's the planet of high intuition, high inspiration, very creative, compassionate, empathetic. So even if you have a sun sign like Capricorn, which isn't necessarily known for all those things, it's more like the business oriented, like boss kind of energy, having Neptune there, will make it a very empathetic, will make the individual very empathetic. And it's almost like I always say it's like almost like a Pisces slash Capricorn. So there's definitely still a Capricorn, especially this double rising, but that Neptune there. So first of all, first big question is, how does someone, with their sun, which by the way is conjunct Spica, which is one of the luckiest stars in the heaven. It's not one of the four royal stars, but it's like it might as well be, because it's right there on the brightest stars, and it's exactly. Oh no, my charger just did that thing again. Charge, don't go in red. 1 sec. Why is it? Why? This is like literally like I'm gonna have to buy like this is my third or fourth charger I'm gonna have to buy for this computer. Hold on, maybe I should just pause this until I get this right. 1 second. Okay, I think I got it. Let's pray that it doesn't switch up on me. But as I was saying, yeah, so Capricorn and Libra, they're both cardinal signs. They're square, so it means that, you know, you have an elemental square between, I'll show you in the chart, between sun and moon. Which isn't, it kind of creates like a difficulty, right? You see like your sun is here, and Libra, moon, and Capricorn. So it can kind of create a difficulty, right? I always give the metaphor of like, if you're a ship with two different captains, right? Both of them are going in two way different directions. And even though it's not like a square in terms of like one's 23, one's only 2 degrees, still elementally it's a square. So, you know, the Libra will be at odds with the Capricorn, and you know, the rising as well, because they're the same. So to break down kind of the Capricorn part first, right? So as you know, Capricorn moon is very karmic. You're born in 88, so you've gone through your Saturn return. So I imagine that was a very like emotionally just liberating time, at least after. You know, you probably really come into your own as it relates to kind of emotional, like kind of really, I mean, usually people who have Capricorn moons, they have to really grow up fast. That's what I've noticed. And it's because it's ruled by Saturn. So I just had a client earlier today, like a live one, who did which I recommend to everyone, is to do, and I have like a special offer for it, to do the follow-up session plus the current astrology at the same time. That's what I'm recommending to everyone. It's like the most magical thing. Like basically this reading is like the book of your life. You get this done once. You can rewatch it as many times as you want. The follow-up is kind of like comparing your lived experience with a little bit of my counseling expertise, 2 master's degrees, you know, kind of mixing together the psychology and the astrology with, you know, really trying to like hear out your lived experience of everything I talked about, right? So most people like watch it multiple times because it gets very deep, and then they will they'll take notes basically. And like the second or third time they watch it, another person was telling me that they have to watch it like 5 times. But it's different for everyone. In essence, like, so Capricorn moon, there's always this like this need, I would say, to liquefy crystallized emotional patterns from the karmic past. And basically what that means is that Capricorn moons, and it's way more difficult typically for a man to have this, but what can happen is that, you know, the moon, it likes to be like Cancer, right? Cancer is fluid, it's water, it's like that's how the emotions like to run, right? And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is rock. So you can imagine like rocky emotions. There can be stuck emotions, right? There can be emotions that are meant to be broken through, emotional patterns. And people who have Capricorn moon, sometimes, you know, they have to, like I said, grow up really early. There's like this feeling of, you know, a lot of times like difficult childhoods where like they had to like take on the parental, like I just spoke to the client, like I said, who, and it's very, you know, common, who had to kind of like, I guess you could say, like parent like her younger siblings at a very young age because her dad was like into drugs and all that, and her mom passed away. So they tend to grow up quick. And what's interesting though is that, and there's a lot more to it, right? It's not just that, you know, like the moon is like your emotional needs. It's like what it takes for you to feel comfortable, happy, all that stuff, right? Like really secure within yourself. So Capricorn moons, they really need to feel like they're a part of the big picture, like what they're doing is contributing to the world in a positive way. Like the highest energy of Capricorn I could think of is like MLK, right? Just like pure like just continuous work towards something that he believed in, and being very brave and being a leader. Now, with your chart, what's interesting is that you lack water, the water element, which rules like that emotional aspect. And of course, your North Node is in Pisces, so you're trying in this lifetime to become more imaginative, more spiritual, more in tune. I see a lot of this. I've seen a lot of this lately, right? South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces, right? Like if you look at my readings on YouTube, you can see like 2 of the recent ones where like it was back to back. So I understand this journey, right? Because the North Node is like where you're trying to get to, and it's not easy, especially because like as a Virgo South Node, there's a tendency to in past lives kind of stick to like the more material, more not conformist, but just like there can be like a level of judgment, whether it's self-judgment or judgment of others, little things that keep you in the here and now. You know how Virgos can be. And yeah, so it's like this big quest for you to follow, because your moon is conjunct Neptune, to really dive into Pisces energy. So that's like the sign that you're really trying to get to, which is the last sign, the most spiritual sign. The last sign. So it's accumulation. So it's a very karmic lifetime for you right off the bat. Now, basically with so with the fact that your moon is rising, and I just had this, by the way, it's a very good thing, because it means that you're able to express your emotions. So like rising sign is really representative of the mask you wear. It's like your outer personality. It's like your, I use the metaphor of the egg, where with the big 3, where the outside shell is the ascendant, the white kind of part of the egg is the sun, and the yolk in the middle is the moon. So obviously, like, the foundation is the moon. Like, without following the moon sign, it's very hard to be happy and feel secure. And it also has tons of romantic implications, right? So with that said, Capricorn moons, it's like they're on this quest. I mean, a lot of them, especially when Neptune's there, they're pushed. Like, there's one part of them that's like very, very like in the material world and Capricorny, as you know. But then there's this other part that's very like just such an empath. So the fact that you lack water in your chart can be somewhat off-put by the fact that Neptune is there. So it's very fortunate in this case, right? And having ascendant conjunct moon makes it so I'll give you an example. If your moon was in Capricorn, your ascendant was Leo, for example, it would be way more difficult for people to see like who you truly are, to sense that Capricorn moon. But because your ascendant and your moon are the same, like I think of like Tupac as someone who had that. Is not in the same sign. I think it was in Aries or something like that. But basically, like, it creates an energy where it might be hard to be vulnerable. It might be hard to kind of, because like Capricorn moons, like they had this like toughness to them, right? And people around them expect, especially when your rising's Capricorn, they almost expect you like, oh, something's hard. It's like the wise one, the mature one, right? So it's like they almost expect you to be able to kind of overcome whatever the hell it is. So in this case, it'd be related to, being someone who people see as very responsible and is very capable, and with respect to like career and whatever you decide to do. Now, speaking of career, your sun right here in Libra is right on the midheaven. So a big part of your journey is also about finding balance, Libra, in career. And Libra is also about business. So, you could be someone who's very like good in that side of the world. And with your South Node, which rules like I said, your past life tendency in the sign of Virgo, it comes naturally for you to be organized and to work really well, whether it's in the educational system or in the corporate world or whatever it may be, to just be able to be someone who people can trust to get the job done. And the push towards the North Node is what we're really talking about here. Me as an evolutionary astrologer who talks a lot about karma. So right off the bat, let's see, unaspected sun, interesting. So that can be like a very boss energy, especially sun in Spica on midheaven. Like, I don't know anything about you. I haven't looked at any photos, but like that's like potential for like real fame and real star ability, honestly. That's like, it's an exact conjunction, and it's on the midheaven. So it's like very, very prominent. And I think a big part of it is like getting past that square. So what is the square between Libra and Capricorn? Well, Libra is very social. Libra is very relationship oriented. It's an air sign, so it's about communicating. It's about trying to create and find balance within yourself and within others. Now, Capricorn is a lot more. Capricorn Moon is a lot more. It can Capricorn Moon people can have periods of depression and melancholy, and sometimes they can be loners, where they really need to like spend a lot of time alone, or they tend to spend a lot of time alone, and they can feel like almost restricted by their own emotions. But the fact that they're both cardinal is about self-starting. So, you'd be a very self-starting person, especially with that Mars in Aries, which is retrograde. I had a feeling. Interesting. So Mars, okay, we'll talk about it after, but Mars in Aries normally is like, just pure assertive, like the most assertive, like go-getter energy ever, right? And Capricorn rising is also like very good for kind of just being able to like once you do start things, being able to really, really follow through. So that's very good. Now let me get a sip of water. 1 sec. Mika, the cat's staring at me in a very scorpionic way. Stop hiding and staring at me in a creepy way, Mika. Weirdo. I'll go back to my face, but I'm so scared of this power thing. So yeah, basically Libra and Capricorn, it's like one side wants to be very, out there in the world, making power moves, and it's going to come very naturally to you to be a very powerful person. Like I said, Spica, I have to like kneel down to like go to my notes. Here's Mika. This is Aries right here. Aries, Scorpio. And Pisces, Venus. So Spica, one of these amazing fixed stars conjunct your midheaven and your sun is very, very, very important, because basically what it does is that it gives riches, like unbounded good fortune, happiness, really, really good for honor, advancement, even beyond like your hopes and capacity, and the fact that it's conjunct the sun is just really amazing for wealth and happiness, and like, you know, everything to do with children, help from like you know, people in high places, and it is culminating, so it could be very, very good for even like, you know, it's like church and state is what it says in like these old notes. So yeah, it's a very powerful one. So yeah, like that's just like pure luck. You'll have lots of luck when you're able to tap into that high Libra energy. So what is high Libra energy compared to low Libra energy? Well, low Libra energy is when you put other people's needs before your own and do the people pleasing thing, right? So to combat that and to really get the best out of you know, this Capricorn Libra energy, it's all about this deep emotional work that needs to get done, right? You know, the opposite sign of Capricorn is Cancer, of course, and you have your Chiron in Cancer, so it's in the 7th house of relationships. Yes, Mika. So basically, and I'll show this again. So you have Chiron here. You know, typically, so Chiron in Cancer, it can deal with like lots of family issues. Also see Mars is in the 4th house, so in retrograde, so there could be like some real anger, and it's not opposite, but basically like, you know, your sun's opposite the IC. So what that tells me is that, you know, there's some type of like, you know, is Mars aspected? Yeah, by Saturn. Yeah, it's aspected by Uranus and Saturn. Mika, don't go away from a power cable. Basically like, you know, Mars retrograde, it's like either you've like overused or underused that kind of Martian quality in the past life or in past life tendencies. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there's either been like an over assertiveness or an under assertiveness. And in this life, the Mars, when it's retrograde, right, Mars action and all that, it's kind of like pushing that energy more inward, right? Where in some cases, especially with being a Libra, there can be like it's like this quality where like you want to be direct, you want to be this, you want to be that. You want to tell people how you feel, but then the Libra part is like, no, I don't want to rock the boat too much, right? So that's one thing you really have to look out for. It's like the kind of people-pleasing quality that's inherent in Libra. So besides that, with Capricorn, you know, I mean, very fortunate, like I was saying before, like to have that positioning, to have the sun, or excuse me, the moon and the ascendant like right on top of each other. It's like you're easily, once you're able to get past, you know, if you I'm guessing at your age, past the Saturn return, that's been like a big revelation. It's self-expression, right? It's being able to for example, like heal like with people, or just heal in whatever way is necessary, and use your voice, which is another big part of your karma, because you have your North Node in the 3rd house, the house of communication. It's in Pisces. So when I put everything together, and then, you know, I see the South Node in the 9th house conjunct Venus and Black Moon Lilith, I'm like, damn, well, this person probably, you know, Venus conjunct the South Node, I don't want to say had it easy in past lives, but I want to say like they just always, it kind of speaks to like that Spica energy that you have now, right? And you can look up more about the mythology of Spica and like really dive into that star because you have that star so highlighted, right? It's so highlighted. So when you're such a powerful person, and I'm speaking, I don't know anything about you, right? I don't know if you're, what you're doing with your career. I have no idea what you look like. I do that on purpose. All my clients do not look at any photos or have any idea. By the time, like the month or 6 weeks or whatever passes, like when I actually do the reading, when I get around to it with the long wait list I've been having, I have lost all trace. So basically like that area of life comes really easy, but with the Venus and the South Node together, you could have been like very beautiful, very harmonious, like someone who just was very attractive either by like your physical appearance or just by your artistic ability. Like you probably have carried over like lots of like artistic like prominence into this life, like artistic skills, being a Libra, which is, ruled by Venus itself. So I think you probably have like some real like amazing creative potential. And I'm curious, hopefully we do the follow-up in the current astrology session, which by the way is a live session. We meet on Zoom. We start by going over all of this and kind of comparing it to lived experience, and then we merge right, because your chart is just fresh in my mind, then we merge right into the current astrology, which is really deep and just explaining kind of like what's going on now for you, what's the current energy, what to expect for like the year-ish, like year slash maybe a little bit more than a year, like the time ahead, the energetic time, not to like lead you too far. Most people kind of get that done once a year, and your birthday is nearly here, so it's like the perfect time to do it is like before your birthday. So, and yeah, I do like tons of predictive stuff: solar return, solar arc, progressions, house ingress, annual perfections, time lords, same thing, and of course transits. But I always narrow down the transits so I don't like overload you with like dates of this. I get the most important ones. And yeah, that one's like also takes on like lots of counseling, and we're going over everything. Sorry, my voice is a little bit cracked. I've been doing readings. It was my second reading of the night, but I did like a long session that I just mentioned to you about earlier of the follow up plus the current astrology. So it might sound like I'm tired, but I'm not tired. It's just my voice is a little bit crackly. So yeah, basically like there's so much energy in this chart. I mean, we have so much going on. So Saturn in the 12th house, that could rule like hidden phobias and fears and like this real need. So you have like lots of parts of your chart that are like very powerful, but that are also like pushing you into like spirituality, right? It's pushing you into like wanting to explore the deeper realms. And my thing would be like, okay, so like if you have your Jupiter in Gemini, so it's like you'll have the gift of gab, and it's very good for like your occupation, very good for your health to have that there. It just makes it so like whatever job you do, you're gonna be able to do it in a very good way. You're gonna be able to like get lots of luck in terms of like if you're employed by someone, to just have like very good working conditions and like I said, good for your health, good for your routine. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? Jupiter in 6th house. And then Jupiter in Gemini, it's just like gives someone this real like need, like not need, just like this real like Jupiter is like whatever sign it's in, it expands that sign. So in Gemini, that's your voice, that's your communication. So you'll be someone who loves to speak, who loves to learn, to talk to all kinds of different people. and just all that energy. So it totally links to your north node, right down here in the third house, which is, like I said, the the metaphoric mountain that hasn't been climbed in past lives. And yeah, basically in this life, you're really trying to get deeper with your spirituality. That's one of the things. But going back to what I was saying before, right? This part up here, which is very, very interesting. I've never seen these three together. It makes me think with the Black Moon Lilith conjunct Venus that, and this will exist like, in your relationships, in your current life, a lot of times like there can be this energy of seeking like so much perfection within yourself that it can be projected outwardly, like that whole perfectionism towards partnership and seeking like a partner that's perfect, and not, and just like kind of having like unrealistic expectations of like, what a partner should be and stuff like that. Of course you'll be very particular with your part with, all that area of life. And Virgo Venus is definitely the Venus sign, and of course it's conjunct the South Node, so all your relationships will be very, very karmic and really trying to push you towards like your destiny. But yeah, overall with Black Moon Lilith, it makes me think that there's been like that lower energy, because Black Moon Lilith represents like the lower energy, right? It's not a planet, so it's not something that's all like manifested automatically, but it comes up when we're at our lower vibe. So when it's conjunct the South Node, first of all, I think of like major creative like witch energy. Whenever I see South Node in Black Moon Lilith, I think of like witch energy and just like esoteric powers and stuff like that, mystical powers. But it makes me think, okay, what's the kind of lower vibration of Venus of Venus and Virgo? Well, I would think, okay, well, it's definitely having to relate to that's either self-criticism or projected criticism to other being partnerships. So also with South Node in Virgo, there's this energy of like really wanting to kind of be perfect in a lot of ways, kind of wanting to like be so in the here and now. So in the, go back to my face, like be so in that, like, what do you call it? Like the consensus reality, like of like, the, I don't say like the Matrix, but like just like so caught up in like the, how Virgos can be like caught up in the here and now, caught up in this thing, that little thing, that it actually like separates them from that higher spirituality. There can be lots of worrying too, and anxiety, right? FedEx, my cat's making me play fetch with him. Go bring your ball over here, FedEx. You know how it works. He did. He's such a magician. He like somehow like hides the ball and then just like drops it like right in front of me without me seeing. FedEx. Crazy boy. That's Scorpio magic. But yeah, so basically, yeah, really wanting to like seek meaningful relationships, no time for bullshit. And we'll talk about how that works with like all the other parts of your chart. But yeah, with the South Node there, like it's really like a quest for like higher compassion and higher faith. And that's why you have your Sun conjunct Neptune, because, or your Moon conjunct Neptune, because you're meant to be like the sponge for energy and this empath and this person that feels energy and all this stuff, right? At the same time, in Capricorn, like gets stuff done and wants to really like at a high energy, like kind of stick yourself to high spiritual ideals and move towards them, like do actual physical work in the world that is helping. And you could definitely be like a star psychologist, like with what I'm seeing, because Chiron is in the 7th house, which rules, not only relationships, but also like this is a client I guess, astrologer or client, counselor, client, whatever, relationship it is. Anything one-on-one like that is 7th house, business partners too, and also enemies, open enemies. But yeah, like with the South Node Virgo, there can be like a tendency to like build these like rigid structures, and like kind of like a world where there's like, like being overly judgmental of others and yourself, and it's all about like in this life like developing like that deeper spiritual understanding, and deepening, getting really in touch with your intuition, right? That's like super important for you. So and then the fact that's in the 3rd house, there's this other theme in your chart about finding your real voice, right? Like finding that authentic voice that reflects that Neptunian part of you, right? Because there's definitely a split in this chart between this real worldly power and then this quest. And with South Node conjunct Venus, you can kind of just, it can be a little bit, I don't want to say easy, but at least like you can definitely like have this natural ability to kind of like in that Libra way, like win people over, not like in a manipulative way, just like with charm and grace and all that Libra energy, right? Especially in your Mercury is also retrograde. Very interesting. You have Mars and Mercury retrograde. So that's speaking further to this energy where in this life, like in a past life, you were way too in the here and now, in the material world, this and that. In this life, because Mercury retrograde means that like you overdid or underdid. In this case, I would predict that'd be, well, I can tell it's overdid with Mars retrograde 2 in Aries. So that energy, there's lots of energy that's inward, right? So Mercury retrograde can represent like lots of like rumination, lots of thought about like there can be like over analyzing different situations. And when it's in Libra, it can be difficult because it's like it's very hard to it can make you like really, really not want to rock the boat, basically. But I'm saying that you're here to rock the boat, and when you're, have such a spiritual quest. One second. A little tea. It can be difficult, right? It can be difficult to disappoint people, especially when people have their own version of who they think you're supposed to be, right? So in this scenario, it's like, okay, how can I still succeed in that, like, Spica, like Libra way, which, it's not going to be hard in my opinion, because you're going to have all this positive energy, and we haven't even gotten into like the big aspects yet. But yeah, like the Capricorn moon is what really needs to kind of be overcome. But I'll talk about that when I'm done talking about this Virgo energy from past lives. So yeah, like with Black Moon Wolf there, it's basically saying, it's basically kind of like going back with what I'm saying, that there's been like some of the overly rigid energy in past lives that's kept you away from higher spirituality. In this life, you're really trying to get there. So we get that. Now with the retrogrades, like I said, that like that with Mars retrograde, it's like you want to do all this stuff, and it's in your 4th house, so it can relate to like kind of an eruptive early home environment. But you might, with the Libra, be holding a lot of this stuff in. And what happens with people with these kind of charts is that unless they like dive into their own power and their own ability to really speak their voice and tell whether it's parent A or parent B, because you do have that square, so that would tend to suggest that there's some disagreement in terms of the overall worldview of your two parents, to really like speak your truth and let them know, even if it hurts them, even if it's like something that like isn't nice to hear, like they need to understand who you are. And that goes for everyone in your life, siblings, anyone important. So yeah, not letting people down is another theme. And then yeah, there can be like with Mars retrograde, definitely like this deep power in competition. So there's definitely a need to like work out for sure, especially Mars square Uranus. Yeah, I mean, there can be like this real buildup of anger and frustration, and there's a need to like sweat it out to have some kind of physical outlet. And yeah, and there, let's see what's the degrees. Yeah, so and then with Saturn, so now, you know, that you've gone through your Saturn return, it's probably a time where you're really starting to feel like you may have felt in the past, like you take one step forward, then something pushes you back. And you're trying to move forward, something pushes you back. And there's like these setbacks. But then when you get past the Saturn return, it's like, okay, well, now I am still, you know, I still have all of these like this like amazing determination that Capricorns have, right? To kind of move forward and to get past like different setbacks, but without the setbacks, you know, without those karmic setbacks. So very, very good one. And yeah, so okay, now with the moon in Capricorn and kind of going more into that. So it's all about leaning into Neptune. Neptune, the first house, I think of it as like, how can you take and you have Uranus in the 12th, it's just super, super spiritual, right? That gives you the ability, like when you're dreaming, when you're like meditating, if you're, you know, able to balance yourself out, which you have tons of Earth, so imagine that it's not like that big of an issue. To really like, 1 second, I have to minimize this for 2 seconds because my other download just finished. Hold on. Okay, perfect. So back to the chart. So yeah, so it's all about you know, yeah, with the Uranus there, like you can get like all these downloads when you're like meditating or sleeping. So Saturn can kind of prohibit that. So when someone has Saturn in the 12th house, and my girlfriend has this, and I know several of my clients that have this, they tend to really like, they can have like these like early phobias, like they might be scared of ghosts, scared of like the like death, or like the hidden realms, the things that are very like unknown. But because of that, they take a rather serious approach to these matters, which can lead them to great discoveries and anything related to like the esoteric and spirituality and trying to really find that universal truth. So yeah, it's like through that great, I guess you could say, research and just deep dive into like the collective unconscious and your own unconscious, that, you know, and also like, you know, Capricorn moon requires a lot of shadow work. It's not Scorpio, but you know, it definitely requires you to kind of go in. It's very, very based on like, you know, family karma, especially, you know, with the opposition of the Chiron, you know, that's signifying that there's definitely, you know, karmic issues, and you might be the one who's like really, really meant to kind of overcome these family cycles. And a lot of my clients have this, it's like a trend lately. So that, you know, when you have kids, if you have kids, that you're not passing on, you know, some of these cycles. I had a client earlier where we were talking about it, and you know, she was talking about how her you know, her father had all these substance issues, her mom had like some medical issue who she was very close with, and passed away when she was only 8. She witnessed it, and basically, you know, how she was never going to be like an escapist, like drug addict like her dad, but her own version of it was like codependency. So she had to kind of move past that, right? So for you, with Saturn ruling your chart, right, as a Capricorn rising, it's about moving past these fears. And also there can be like hidden enemies with Saturn in 12th house. And yeah, the way through it is through really finding, you know, that thing you're doing with your career and in the world in general and with your identity, making your dream life, like with Neptune in the first house, imprinting your dream life, your imagination, your intuition into your actual day-to-day life, into your actual identity, despite what it might do in terms of like rocking the boat with like more traditional people that might be in your life karmically. So yeah, getting rid of stuck emotional patterns. It's very, very difficult, and that's why a lot of Capricorn moon people, do therapy, they do different forms of healing, and they really try out a lot. And there's also this need to kind of like dive into the higher realm of Capricorn and be, and I'll go back to the chart, and be kind of like your own father symbol in a sense, like being not that, like nothing against your father or anything like that, but like literally like being able to be the captain of your own ship, because like that's what it's all about. And I don't think that's gonna be difficult with the South Node in Libra, but like with Venus on the South Node, maybe things came easy in a past life. Maybe you had like very strong alliances. You're in a very high place in society, and you didn't really have to depend as much. There's no need for you to like in your mind to dive into like spirituality. I mean, look at like super like rich people today. I mean, you could say that like some of them are famous or whatever. People who are so preoccupied by their fame and this and that, that they don't really go into that a lot of times. So yeah, in this life, I see that being a big thing for you. Now, we can't forget that even with the fact that like, there's so much about you, like with the Mercury retrograde also, it's about like, spending a lot of time like really, really thinking about how do I want to communicate? Because in past lives, maybe there's like a over communication, like thinking in a way that wasn't productive towards your highest growth, And then with Mars retrograde, it's like, okay, same thing, but with actions, right? Where you act in a way that was maybe rash, but there's still so much power there with Mars and Aries that having it retrograde can cause lots of frustration. I said it's in the house of family already, so it's like making sure that you are direct. And there's a book called Nonviolent Communication you might know about that really teaches lots of skills around how to communicate in a way that's very, very effective, gets your point across, and doesn't lead to conflict. It's like diplomacy 101, really. It's by Brandon, something Marshall, not Brandon Marshall. So yeah, that's that part. Lots of like, defeating family karma, but like, yeah, a huge ability to, through your romantic relationships, that's one area where you can find lots of healing, right? Around seventh house. And there can be even a direct correlation between the healing done there and what's needed to, to heal the family stuff. But like one thing with what I was trying to get at earlier is that in order to truly maximize your career and like what you're here to do, you have to confront what happened in the childhood with the Mars in the fourth house. And with the retrograde, it could make it difficult to really take action on that, even if it's in Aries, the most powerful Mars sign. So I'm very curious to hear, hopefully when, I hope it's not an if, hopefully when we do the follow-up. I mean, it's your choice, but I highly recommend it, follow-up and current astrology to really hear kind of how that connects, and definitely take notes and stuff if you're planning on doing that, to make sure that I because I forget after I do these readings, it's on the next one and the next one and the next one, next one, next one, next one, and then it's just like, by the time we get to the follow-up, it's like, that's why it's so powerful for the follow-up to lead to the current astrology, because it's like it's so fresh in my mind. But yeah, so that's that. That's that part of the chart over here. And then just overall, yeah, just really imprinting, as I said before, and I'll repeat it because it's so important, like really getting in touch with your intuition, your empathy, because I know that empathy for you has to play into your career. You can't just be someone and like your career slash like your dharma. Like it's not just career, it's not just your job. You could have a very like amazing job as a lawyer or something like that, but then also have like a spiritual side. And that's kind of what it's asking. It's like, how can you like dial down both of those, right? So yeah. But yeah, with the relationship stuff, definitely pain, will be there, but you can definitely relate that to family pain. Chiron in the seventh house is the person who's like literally able to have clients and be a healer for those clients. And in Cancer, it's like an emotional healer. I have my Chiron in Cancer too. I'm clearly a healer, but mine's the 11th house, which is like the collective. So it's more of like collective. Yours would probably be more like one-on-one. Although, with your super powerful sun, on Spica, there's definitely going to be this pull towards, being a star in your own realm. It's just like the big question is like, what realm is that going to be? And how is that realm going to, bring together your own healing and using that extremely, because like, yeah, you're Capricorn moon, but you have Neptune on it. So it's almost like a Capricorn / Pisces moon. And then the ascendant's there. So it's like, it'll add like this level of like Capricorn kind of like hardiness and responsibility and authority mixed with this kind of dreaminess of Neptune, which is a super interesting combination. I'm always very interested when I get to speak to these clients, because it's just so interesting to hear their life stories and kind of like how those two have manifested together. Because Pisces and Capricorn, they're both sextiling each other, but they're different. One's very worldly, one's very spiritual. So that's that. Aspect wise, so Moon square Aries, or excuse me, square Mars in Aries. That is the ultimate like hit, like that's like explosions, right? People who have Moon squaring their Mars, they can have these like these volcanic eruptions, and they have no idea where it comes from, and they can come at random times. And retrograde, it can be something that's like really kind of held for a long period of time, and then suddenly just boom, it explodes. So that's something to really look out for, and finding constructive ways to deal with anger, if there's any anger, which I assume, that, unless you've done tons of work around that fourth house Mars, and also like with the South Node there could be some kind of like coming in this life, like entitlement, where you're kind of used to having things a certain way. And when that doesn't happen, it can lead to like this like soul frustration, but it's all, you can't remember your past life. So like, or at least most people can't. So yeah, it can definitely lead to some level of frustration. I think I'm gonna set my computer on my stand now because it's at 44%. My camera just went out. Awesome. So let's put it back. And that's way easier for me to. Come on, camera, what are you doing? There, you plug it back in. There it is. Okay, perfect. So, yeah. So yeah, definitely like major energy for being like an amazing, like super successful person, but you just can't ignore that, that journey, right? It's like so I'm very curious, like how are you combining these high spiritual Neptunian imagination, intuition, high compassion, humanitarianism, all that stuff, into career, right? That'd be like a big question. Sorry, not career, dharma. And one of the best ways, if that Saturn 12th house is really bothersome, and you probably would have gone past it, like in your Saturn return, right? And it's, I always say for people who have like a lot of Capricorn, that the Saturn return is like a celebration. It's like, yes, I graduated. It's usually like less intense than people who have not much Saturn, or who have, yeah. But yeah, the Saturn square Mars is definitely, like it can make it difficult to kind of like feel like you're able to move forward in life, which is completely opposite to the other parts of your chart. So I feel like you're probably like really, really discovering that power. And in olden times when everything was ruled by astrology, the Saturn return was really like the time where people kind of like really decide on their life direction. Like you don't really become an adult until the Saturn return. And I completely agree with that. I mean, yeah, some people mature in terms of like life purpose, because until the Saturn return, you're really like guided a lot by like by karma. It's not until after that you don't choose your parents, you don't choose who you go to school with, your early job environment, university, all that stuff, whatever it is. It's like around 30 where you kind of break through from it, and even like early relationships, stuff like that. It's very, very karmic. But then, with more awareness, Saturn return comes, and then it's like it's gone through every part of your chart. It's matured each planet as it passes each planet. So, yeah. So, yeah, imagine when Saturn was in Libra, that was probably a huge time for you. A huge, huge time. So yeah, with relationships, obviously, Virgo, as I said before, Venus, it's gonna be very conjunct South Node. You have to watch out, as I said, for like the ideal partner. There's no such thing. No one's perfect. Chiron, you're gonna face a lot of your inner pain in relationships. But you're gonna be really looking for very healing relationships that are grounded in some level of emotional maturity. As a Capricorn moon, Capricorn moons in relationships, they really like to be proud of their partner. They want someone who's really doing something for the world. They want to be proud of them. They're not going to be with someone who's just like Capricorn is about foundation. So in your life, it's about building solid foundations. Like when you build a skyscraper, or like a big building, like you're spending so much time like building like the lower foundations. I mean, you're from Las Vegas, so it's like how you've probably seen those big buildings, hotels and stuff being built, right? Where it's like casinos and stuff, where they spend so much time on constructing the base. And that's kind of how it is in relationships with you, and just in life in general. So these first 30 years were definitely spent on that base, right? And yeah, so very powerful stuff. So Mars and Aries, I mean, actually, where's Juno first? So Juno is in Leo, which works perfectly with that. So that kind of says a story of its own, where you're really gonna be someone who really likes to have a partner who's in touch, who's at the same time like in touch with their own process of like of growth, spiritual growth. It's kind of like the more scorpionic process of like death, rebirth, and transformation. And you don't have any difficult Pluto aspects, but still. But really like the Leo, like kind of ideal partner, vertex there too, really, really want like being in touch with your inner child and having fun and playfulness, especially for a Capricorn moon where there can be so much repression and melancholy, right? for Capricorn moons. And the fact that it's on the ascendant, it could kind of state like if you've had like, you know, most Capricorn moons have had periods of like kind of quiet depression, you know, and they tend to hide it from the world. But in the first house, it can be more obvious, right? It's like I said, like your moon and your ascendant together, it means that you kind of wear your emotions on your sleeve. So it's way easier for other people to kind of like understand that of you, that about you. Like I said earlier, my example of like if you had a Leo rising and Capricorn moon, it's gonna be more difficult because like there's gonna be there would be a huge gap between like people would see like this abundant and fun and this and that Leo rising, and then the Capricorn moon's kind of hidden in the background, just like, you know, for no one to see, and only people who get close to you really recognize it. But because Capricorn moon, you know, is very careful with who they allow to get close to them, you know, it could make someone very misunderstood. So that's a very advantageous position, very good for like things like writing also, you know, that could be a huge thing for you too, like doing any kind of like journaling or spiritual writing. Like I said, there's so many artists who have their moon rising. It's an amazing placement. So yeah, I imagine like even though it is in Capricorn, that you've, you know, figure out a way, like once you had that first like kind of like observation or awareness of it, where you're really able to be in touch with those emotions. But the question is, how do you express them? And I haven't really spoken about you know, the Neptune effect on the moon and ascendant from Neptune. So Neptune on the moon, it can create sort of a confusion around your emotional nature, kind of like a fog, where it's difficult for you to really understand a lot of your childhood. Maybe there's like, maybe you have like an energy where like you attach a ton to your mother's energy. This is what I see a lot with like moon and Neptune. And some people like they'll like be like, you know, so attached to their mother, and maybe the mother was like strict and repressive in certain ways of you and your individuality. And what happens sometimes is that they can attach so much to their mother's energy. It's not until later in life that they realize, oh shit, I've been hanging on to something that's not mine at all, you know? And it's that process of letting go that's so huge, right? But Neptune can kind of cloud that. So really, like, the more spiritual awareness you gain, the better it is for you. And we can speak more about that in the hopeful follow-up. So with the ascendant in Neptune, now that's a different story. That, you know, it's more apparent, and it's more about like identity and kind of like the mask you wear, and just incorporating, you know, the sensitivity of Neptune with the kind of strength and perseverance of the Capricorn rising. And it kind of is a big theme in your chart to get those, you know, to get Pisces and Capricorn working together. And when we go back to, you know, that square of you know, of the Libra and Capricorn energy, and how those kind of conflicts, it's like, you know, to access the higher realms of Libra in career, you know, you have to first get past like the childhood issues, but then you have to get past the stuck emotional patterns and being able to see yourself more clearly and more realistically on that emotional level, on that deep, deep level. So speaking about relationships, and I think it's pretty clear that, like, you know, there's a mix of real seriousness, of real healing, you know, but also of like of fun and inner child and passion, and you know, maybe a little bit of drama in there too. But really, at the end of the day, the moon is so important when it comes to relationships. And yeah, it has to be someone, you know, with Venus and Virgo, moon in Capricorn, it has to be someone who's serious about their life. You know, you're not here to be with someone who's not, who you're not like able to like 100% trust, like this person is the real deal, you know, this person is is really like, I could like trust them in any circumstance. And that's felt because you're an empath at the intuitive level. And that's like the big journey, is like getting in touch with that, which leads back to the North Node in Pisces, right? So that's challenging, right? Because you have so much fucking power. And it's like, how do you make time? How do you make space for all that, right? And then I'm also seeing here a grand trine between Pluto, um, Chiron. Oh my God, I just saw this exact same one the other day. It's so crazy. Pluto, Chiron, and the North Node. Oh my God. So speaking of Pluto, let's talk a little bit about Pluto in the 11th house. Let me bust out my little handwritten Pluto book. So Pluto is like very, very important. It relates to kind of like the skip step in past life. It's like where the shadow work really has to get done. In 11th house, it's about groups, it's about humanitarianism, stuff like that. But and it's also a lot about conditioning, undoing past life conditioning, which I see all over your chart. So the quest is a radical shift away from the karmic past, from who they have been or from how others have seen them. It's about liberating yourself from conditioning, what I just said. There's a powerful need to detach from the external environment and social groupings in order to see those interactions with a new perspective. Sometimes we need so that's super important, because as a Libra, there's that desire to not disappoint, that desire to be with what's going on. And when you start life in a certain way, right, maybe like later on you start to change, and it's like, how do like maybe there's people that you have to let go of, and how in situations and ways of being that disappoint. And that's the big question, right? Especially with the Mercury there. It's like it's also kind of with your thought and communication of not wanting to disappoint. So getting past people pleasing and really finding your own voice is super important. And it's completely linked. If you look at the Mercury here, and then third house is the house of Gemini, Mercury, and that's where the South Node is. It's part of Fortune too. So it's like part of Fortune and North Node together. It's like part of Fortune is like where your greatest flow state, and that's when you're like being in that Pisces North Node of pure compassion, pure oneness, all that stuff. So sometimes we need to step out of familiar routines to understand the patterns that play out in our lives. This can lead to resistance, as it is such a high evolutionary intent. One fear is that going towards individualism will lead to isolation. This can be linked to traumatic memories of potentially being ostracized. It says the South Node ruler will tell more. Well, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. These issues need to be understood now. Need for alliances with like-minded people through groups or friendships. And we might be able to, if you remind me in the follow-up, if we do it, I have a group, but I need to like speak face to face with people before I yeah. Yeah, so need for alliances with like-minded people through groups or friendships in this lifetime. The key with this is the urge to individuate, to become the person that you always wanted to be, free of past traumatic influences and conditioning. To the extent that a group supports this process, it is useful. Groups, could be like associations, like organizations, or just friend groups. But to the point to which it begins to block this process, signals a problem, which I just said about the Libra stuff. One has to act on the impulse to free themselves from this past, as they may face alienation in the current life. So the polarity point, which is kind of like the healing, is in Leo, and that's where your Jupiter. Or no, never mind. You have nothing in Leo, right? You have vertex. So yeah. The need to creatively self-actualize in order to express the potential to move beyond the disassociation produced by trauma into a more creative period of recovery. Individual finding their individuality within groups, finding a purely selfish impulse of creative evolution. Interesting. So going to the Grand Trine, Pluto, which is that mass power when you're able to like really link with the right people and you know, kind of be in that, I'll go back to my face, in that high kind of like humanitarian like state, you know, trining Chiron, which is like, you know, you as the healer, right? So that gives you like this mega power to be this healer, and then that channels in the bottom, you know, of the, well, it's not really the bottom of a triangle, but to the North Node, the highest degree, the highest, you know, evolutionary point. So finding your own voice, you know, being very strong in that voice, and getting past any potential people pleasing, not taking away from you being a star in your own profession, in your own dharma, in your own career, and whatever you have going on is probably spectacular and filled with luck and all that. But yeah, there's definitely a deep need to kind of heal the karmic past and even the childhood past this lifetime. And I think that you're someone who, you know, could potentially be like an amazing healer who takes all these lessons and moves them in to a work that serves humanity, and then that Capricorn moon need gets met. So let's look at anything that I see. Also, I didn't mention you have a 0 degree Aries Mars, which is like basically like 0 degree Mars is like it speaks even more to like the raw nature of like of that energy. And like with, and I didn't say, and I also forgot to talk about like the unaspected sun, how that can be like a very like, there can be like kind of like ruler of the world energy, like a little bit of entitlement, like kind of feeling like you don't have to kind of abide by the same rules everyone else has to. And it's only a potential, right? But let me open my notes about that one just so I can kind of read something. So yeah, a person with unaspected sun tends to march to a different drumbeat. There can be a strong emphasis on self-expression and leadership, as well as strong need for ego recognition. So that's kind of what I was getting at, that second part of the strong need for ego recognition. So yeah. So yeah, Spica I already talked about. It's like glued to your sun. It's 0.02 away. That is a amazing aspect. It's still within 1 degree of your midheaven. So that's like, I mean, you could literally be famous. I'm not joking. I don't say that ever in my sessions. I really don't. I swear to God. I really never ever say the word you could be famous. Or well known or just really successful. But the thing is, like, you just come through your Saturn return and you are a Saturn ruled chart. So if that hasn't happened yet, there's no worries, because now you have had all this hard work. You have no idea how many people with Saturn square Mars end up being some of the most successful people. So I see all, like, and like if we do have that follow-up, like I literally, it's so similar to the one I had today. It's just kind of tripping. It doesn't trip me out anymore because like I always have this. If you've seen my like, I think I did like a reel about where I was like, it's just crazy how I just keep having like client after client where they like, this client has this thing, it's the same as this thing and this thing and this thing, and then like I take maybe a day break. Very rare for me, but like, you know, like let's say like I go into like another chain where I'm doing a lot in a row, and then those ones have the same thing. And like I just keep seeing these trends. Like for example, like the past 2 in a row have had you know, moon conjunct the ascendant. Like, what are the odds? But yeah, 0 degree Mars and sun in Aries can make someone a little bit like impulsive, a little bit ego driven, and like very raw energy with that Mars and Aries. And when it squares the moon, there can be, like I said, the anger tantrums, but if it's I'm very curious to know, and that's kind of why the follow-up can really help if those have been like more like internalized or if they've been externalized. So let's see here, what else I see. So yeah, also in relationships, watch out for I'm just gonna say it again, watch out for being like overly critical. You have to get over perfectionism in this lifetime. You have to get over like the OCD-ness that can come and neuroticism that can come. Not saying you have it from Virgo, South Node, where you're so like there can be so much anxiety about the here and now that it disconnects you from the oneness. So I'm just gonna say when we speak, I have something that I think just say keyword group. It's very secret, and we can talk about something that might really be healing for you. And it's something that I started, and it's fucking amazing. So yeah, I love your Uranus in the 12th house. That's just like all about like like I said, like being able to receive like these downloads, and it loves to be in the 12th house. It loves to just be in that free space where you can just receive this cosmic information when you're sleeping or when you're meditating or whatever. And leaning into that's very important. So having these two lives of the spiritual and whatever you're doing for your higher purpose, if they can blend together, awesome. If you're a lawyer or someone, a high business person or entrepreneur or whatever, real estate, whatever it might be, because Libra also is the scales, business, commerce. Don't give that up. You're meant to be where you're meant to be, and the best is yet to come. But just like you can't forget to add the empathy into what you're doing and to add the compassion. So I'm looking for any fixed stars. Conjunct any planets besides Spica. Just look at 2 degrees Capricorn. So Polis is like yeah, it's another one that's like yeah, very goal oriented, very good for career accomplishment, all that stuff. On your moon and on your ascendant, so yeah, you have that stuff on lock. See anything at 5? Gemini. Nope. And to have your Mars at the 0 Aries point is very just like new beginnings in terms of like how you assert yourself. But like I would just imagine like that maybe you like you have to work out. You have like I just spoke to my client who had the similar chart, and it's just like she's like, if I don't fucking get to the gym and sweat and do whatever, like get that energy out, like I just go fucking crazy, And that's like the volcanic kind of energy that Uranus square Mars produces. You can see it in my most volcanic placements post I did. Aside from that, even just like having like the IC in Aries, or like the 4th house ruled by that, it can just speak to like being very independent of your own family, right? And preferring to kind of like be your own person and more individual. Maybe you like broke away from home early in life. I don't know. But it's important to connect to those roots. It's very important because it has a direct effect on your career. So yeah. Let's see. I think I've hit everything. Vertex and Leo in the 8th house, your doorway to higher awareness is going through that death rebirth transformation, these intense periods of time, that also that like really soul binding, like vulnerable relationship. And the fact that it's in Leo is kind of like your second ascendant in love, like when you're in relationships. It's also very good for fame, which I've said several times, very interestingly. You can be very noticed and loved for what you do, but I think of it as like also like in relationships you'll come off as like very fun loving, very like very funny and stuff of that nature. No. 12 Libra. Nope. And then we're Saturn 27. So if this Saturn, however, is well placed, the star is said to be helpful for mental concentration, gives a liking for philosophical and esoteric studies. Etimine. That's more of a minor star. Okay. And then your sun moon midpoint, where your sun and moon meet in the middle, is in the 11th house in Scorpio. So it's basically saying that like it goes further with your Pluto of like finding like-minded people and really, really getting deep and vulnerable and going through death, rebirth, transformation, like with those people, I guess you could say, that see the world in a similar way you do. Now let's check my last list. Nothing there. Also, karma, the asteroid karma is conjunct your midheaven as well. So that goes without saying. What can one imagine asteroid karma conjunct midheaven is? Basically that there's a ton of fate in your life path. And you're really meant to deal with karmic ties between you and others in this life. Perhaps relating to something you did or failed to do in past lives. How many times have I said that? And it's about like rewards, forgiveness, smoothing the wrinkles out, and releasing debts. And those are all potential things you'll deal with. So, and then your MC is in Libra, so it's ruled by Venus, which is in conjunct your south node. So yeah, it literally it's basically saying that. It could relate to like love life stuff. Balancing out kind of like karmic contracts, love contracts. So super interesting reading. Got very, very deep here. I hope you enjoyed. I thought that it was very interesting. And of course, I always went over the hour. Tell myself, stick to an hour, Jesse. Just try. It never works. So anyways, thank you so much. And I hope to hear from you. I highly, like I said, I'm not going to say it again. Message me, once if you want to do a follow-up, if you want to just do a follow-up, or if you want to do the follow-up as I recommended with the current astrology. Remind me that I told you the price would be $290, and that's a long Zoom session that I will record and post as an unlisted YouTube video, so only you can see it. If you have to remind me to record it though, but by then I'll probably have that as a habit. Anyways, thank you so much. Talk soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.